Let's jump right into this fascinating and honestly deeply troubling explainer. We're looking at a live stream today that literally acts as a real-time case study in extreme paranoia. We're breaking down a broadcast from a user who genuinely believes he's uncovering this massive satanic trafficking network. But as we're going to see by applying some much-needed skepticism to these highly implausible claims, what we are actually witnessing here is a public, digitally amplified psychological breakdown.
We begin with a pretty stark declaration from the speaker. He states, flat out, there's no disputing it, and that perfectly highlights the terrifying internal reality he is living in. To him, these invisible forces are actively attacking him, and he believes he has the hard scientific data to prove it. He speaks with this absolute certainty about being tortured by a containment cell of handlers who are supposedly blasting his house with radiation.
So, that brings us to the crucial question framing our entire analysis. Are we listening to a whistleblower bravely exposing a vast, non-human conspiracy, or are we watching a man suffering from severe, untreated psychosis? Based on the source material, it is overwhelmingly the latter. Throughout this explainer, we're going to cast heavy doubt on these dubious claims so we can understand the actual mechanics of his delusion.
To really grasp what's driving this guy's behavior, we first have to understand the framework of his worldview. He is experiencing what's known in psychiatric circles as the targeted individual, or gang-stalking delusion. People going through this genuinely believe they are the victims of a massive, coordinated surveillance and harassment campaign. In our speaker's mind, every single inconvenience, every random neighbor, every internet commenter, they are all part of a gang-stalking cult, trying to force him into compliance or even drive him to his death. Now, let's look at how this delusion manifests physically in his everyday life, specifically focusing on his obsession with invisible weapons.
Act 1. The Paranoid Broadcast and the Radiation Delusion.
So, the speaker claims to have scientifically proven his torture, citing a reading of 8.5 on his tri-field meter. He specifically points out getting this reading right near where he brushes his teeth in the bathroom. He talks about walking around his house, finding these supposed radiation pockets that actually forced him to move downstairs, because he's convinced that his fake family members have rigged devices in the walls and the attic to literally cook him to death. But let's take a step back and look at the mundane reality here. A tri-field meter just measures normal, everyday electromagnetic fields. We're talking about standard radio frequencies generated by a Wi-Fi router, a cell phone, or just basic bathroom wiring. However, through the lens of psychosis, that reality is entirely overridden. He's misinterpreting completely harmless household electromagnetism as concrete evidence of a lethal, invisible radiation attack designed to give his torturers plausible deniability. And this intense paranoia doesn't just warp how he sees his physical environment, it completely destroys his personal relationships.
Which brings us to Act 2, Family as Handlers.
This is where we see a really tragic cognitive dissonance. The speaker claims his mother, who he dehumanizes by only referring to her as the handler named Flora, lied to get him arrested and force medicated. But the reality is heartbreaking. She called in a 5150, which is California's code for an involuntary psychiatric hold. It was just the distressed mother making a desperate cry for medical help for her severely unwell son. Yet his mind twists this act of care into a literal assassination attempt by a satanic cult, which ultimately prompts him to flee his home and become homeless. This perfectly illustrates the speaker's aphapenia, which is the human tendency to see meaningful patterns in completely random or meaningless data. His mother calling just to say she loves him, that's dismissed as cleanup damage control. His brother Lucas wearing black clothing is somehow proof that he's a Satanist. A simple thumbs up from his brother is interpreted as a Masonic sign of astonishment. He even believes the family cat, Jon Snow, is suffering from the same targeted microwave radiation just because the cat looks tired and puffy. He's finding dark, conspiratorial meaning in entirely innocent everyday life. And the really crucial point here is what happens when this untreated paranoia meets the chaotic architecture of the internet.
Act 3, The Echo Chamber of Psychosis.
So he's broadcasting this severe crisis live, but his interaction with his audience is entirely filtered through his delusion. He looks at his small digital audience, these 400 subscribers, not as real people, but as fake, non-human nodes that are operating a simulated containment cell around him. If someone likes the video and then removes the like, he actually views it as a coordinated psychological demoralization tactic. We can see this toxic feedback loop playing out in real time. When a brand new, one-day-old YouTube account leaves a comment, he doesn't just see a troll, he sees a centipede slug sent for psychological warfare.
When users make edgy, offensive jokes, he claims they're running demonic scripts. When people use standard cartoon avatars, he casts this as non-human signaling meant to mask a global trafficking ring. What we are watching is internet trolls interacting with an unwell person and actively validating and fueling his really dangerous delusions.
As the stream drags on, he spirals even further into this digital apophenia, stringing together entirely unrelated internet artifacts. He points to another YouTube channel, an ASMR creator named Mother Capricorn who eats chalk, and claims her video filter and bizarre content are concrete proof of a non-human ritualistic earth-eating ceremony. He links Dunkin' Donuts logos to kill codes and 1980s school bus safety videos to trafficking signals. He's essentially taking the massive chaotic noise of the internet and weaving it into a tight, terrifying narrative that is aimed entirely at him.
And then we reach this deeply heartbreaking climax. Amidst all his anger and these wild claims of fighting a global satanic cabal, the speaker's true vulnerability just leaks out. He desperately begs his chat, saying, "Can you just please leave a 1 to let me know that you exist?" He is completely isolated, trapped entirely inside his own mind, pleading for a single shred of human proof that he isn't totally alone inside a simulated containment cell.
Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought to consider. We've just unpacked how a man's untreated psychosis totally warps mundane reality into a terrifying delusion, a delusion that is then actively fed and accelerated by anonymous internet trolls. So what are the ethics of platforms allowing these severe mental health crises to be broadcast live for entertainment? Are we, as viewers, and the algorithms that serve this content up to us, complicit in fueling the very digital delusions that are tearing this man's life apart? It is a dark question, for sure, but one we absolutely have to ask. Thanks for diving into this explainer with me.